Welcome to Biblical Trivia. Test your knowledge. Let's dive into some intriguing questions with a touch of humor. Here's a fun one for you. Q. Who was the first man created by God? A. Adam. And believe it or not, he didn't even have a childhood. Next question. Q. What was the first woman's name? A. Eve. She certainly made Adam's life a lot more interesting. Moving on to a bit of ancient carpentry. Q. Who built the ark to survive the Great Flood? A Noah. Talk about an extreme DIY project. That's one for the history books, eh? And now, a touch of divine intervention. Q. In which city was Jesus born? Bethlehem. Not exactly a five-star hotel for a birth, but certainly a momentous occasion. So, who was thrown into a den of lions just for praying to God? That's right, Daniel. He must have had some serious cat-whispering skills. And here's one for you. What is the first book of the Bible? It's Genesis, where it all begins. No spoilers, of course. Next question. Who was swallowed by a great fish for 3 days? Yep, Jonah. Talk about an all-inclusive fishy vacation. So, who led the Israelites out of Egypt? Well, that would be Moses. He really knew how to make an exit. And what was the name of the sea that Moses parted? That's right, the Red Sea. No lifeguards needed that day, I'll tell you. Now, who is considered the father of the 12 tribes of Israel? It was Jacob. He had quite the family reunion. What was the name of David's giant opponent whom he defeated with a slingshot? Goliath. David really rocked that challenge. How many disciples did Jesus have? 12. Enough to start a small soccer team. Who betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver? Judas Iscariot. Not exactly the friend of the year. So, here's a good one for you. What is the longest book in the Bible? It's Psalms. Think of it as the Bible's greatest hits album. All right, moving on. Who was the first king of Israel? That would be Saul. He had a royally tough job, didn't he? Now here's a quick trivia tidbit. What is the shortest verse in the Bible? It's Jesus wept, from John 11:35. Even the Son of God had rough days, you know. So, who was the wisest man according to the Bible? That's right, Solomon. You could say he was the Google of his time. And here's a good one for you. What river did John the Baptist use to baptize Jesus? It was the Jordan River. No pool noodles needed for that sacred occasion, eh? Now, who was the apostle who doubted Jesus' resurrection until he saw him with his own eyes? Yes, it was Thomas. He always wanted proof. Typical skeptic, wasn't he? So, which book of the Bible details the creation of the world? Well, it's Genesis. And, spoiler alert, it starts with, "Let there be light." Now, who was thrown into a fiery furnace but was unharmed? That would be Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were the original firewalkers, weren't they? Here's a good one. What did Jesus feed to 5,000 people? It was just 5 loaves and 2 fish. Talk about the best potluck ever, eh? So which apostle was a tax collector before following Jesus? It was Matthew. From crunching numbers to saving souls. Quite the career change, huh? Now, who wrote the majority of the New Testament letters? That's right, it was Paul. He was quite the pen pal, wasn't he? What are the first 4 books of the New Testament called? The Gospels, of course. The original quartet setting the stage for everything that follows. Who was the woman who became queen and saved her people from destruction? Esther. She won more than just a beauty contest, didn't she? Who received the Ten Commandments from God? Moses. Now that was the original mountaintop experience, wasn't it? So what is the final book of the Bible? It's Revelation. The ultimate spoiler alert, eh? Now, who was the strongest man in the Bible known for his long hair? That's right, Samson. You could say he was the first to sport biblical dreadlocks. Moving on, who was Jesus' mother? Mary, of course. Talk about a miraculous motherhood. Let us know how well you did. Cheers!